Greetings ladies and gentlemen, Adrian here, and I welcome you back to the channel for the next installment of my Mordor playthrough leading up to the final review. I've spent a lot of time in the second Mordor region, Dor Amarth, which has taken me a little over a week to complete, no thanks to work and other distractions. Dor Amarth is pretty big and desolate. There are ancient towers and keeps scattered in the lands surrounding Barad-dur, including the dungeons of Barad-dur. It almost reminds me of the Lowlands in scale, but it's aesthetically better. Cracks in the ground appear a lot in the landscape, where one wrong move and you fall to a lava bath and inevitably your death. So let's talk about my questing adventures in this zone. My pursuit of the Easterling SKP from Durthang takes me to the Free People's outpost of Dingarth, where I meet two very familiar faces. Gimli and Legolas are here, and we'll talk about their respective quest arcs in a bit. I've decided to put the Black Book on hold to finish the landscape quests in Dor Amarth first, and I was looking forward to what the overarching zone narrative would be. Without spoiling too much, there are three main narrative quest chains here, beginning with Sauron's lieutenants. I've now learned that there are three who serve Sauron, and now the Mouth of Sauron since the latter's demise. My task was to seek each one out and show them a little love. While that was going on, I paid more attention to Gimli's quest. Now do keep in mind I have to spoil a large chunk of these because it's important, so skip ahead if you don't want to listen. Gimli is here to figure out if there are other races that inhabit the lands of Mordor, more specifically, dwarves. After a bit of exploration, I find them. There is a band of dwarves called the Stout-axes clan, whose stand-in leader is interested in meeting Gimli to learn more about Durin's folk and other dwarves in the west. So I set up a meeting between the two and got invited to their humble abode. They are in a bad state. Slaves to Sauron for many years, their people want freedom and are severely lacking in armaments and other supplies. To make matters worse, another faction of Sauron loyalists are in the area, and I was dispatched to run the usual errands of fetch and kill quests to earn their trust and build a relationship. I also learned that their king is imprisoned within the dungeons of Barad-dur. Naturally, the next quest involves freeing him from the dungeons, and so I took the opportunity to kill two birds with one stone, as the other quest arc from Ingold involving finding the lieutenants was also in the area. Both quests eventually lead me to the dungeon of Barad-dur, and it is another dungeon crawler instance area, and while it's not as large as Durthang, it was equally fun. Now that the king of the Stout-axes are free, we can finally unite these eastern dwarves with their western kin and call it a day. Alas, it was not to be. The king, as it turns out, is corrupted by a ring given to him by Sauron, and all he wants is to find it again, at the expense of everything else, honor, friendship, and even his own kin. Things only got uglier from there as Gimli and I were banished, and they even tried to take my head after all those quests and errands I've done for them, the ungrateful bastards. I truly felt betrayed, and that's a first for me. It's been so long since I've done a landscape quest here where I actually felt something. Well played, SSG. I end up slaughtering a good number of these new evil dwarves who now call themselves the Firehorns. Not all of them are thrilled about their Mad King's lust for the ring, however, so we get those that yield out of their former homes and back to the outpost where the quest chain ends. I had to think about that quest for a bit and conclude that it's one of the best in this expansion for me so far. There is no sign of King Greytooth Firehorn and his squad of soldiers he took to hunt the ring, so I hope we do cross paths again in the future because I have a score to settle. I freed the damn dude from Barad-dur and now I'm hoping to send him back into the earth. Once that quest was done, Legolas now has a ring above his head and the elven quest arc begins. Apparently, the legendary spear Eyeglass belonging to Gil-galad has been found and Legolas and I head out to seek it. We find it in a random area on top of a rock outcrop, and the same band of Sauron loyalists, the Eye of Something Something, are worshipping it. Once we show them what it can do to evil relics, they forsake it, and Legolas decides it's best to leave the spear where it is, as a shining beacon and a reminder to evil of the land that light conquers darkness after all. It was a pretty short quest chain. I guess they wanted to even out the race-based quests in Dor Amarth. As for the Lieutenant's quest chain, I found it to be the weakest of the three. Much of my time was spent hunting them across the land, further slowed down by auto-bestowed landscape quests and learning only a little about what they are. I thought it lacked substance. These were hardened warriors, and this was a good opportunity to flesh them out individually. I want to know what they're capable of and how they treat their subordinates, etc. So when the time came, I did find them and I wanted to put them down for good, which I thought I did, only to see all three resurrected again for the Black Book, which is, kinda disappointing. And thus, that wraps the 3 landscape arcs in Dor Amarth. Overall, I found it better than the first zone. While the quests are widely spaced out and requires a lot of back and forth on your war steed, the dwarf quest chain was the redeeming factor. Individual quest objectives are also becoming very predictable, and I find myself anticipating what the developers intend for me to do, rather than what the NPC or quest giver intends for me to do to progress the story. It's a funny way of looking at things, but more often than not, understanding why a developer structures or designs a quest and its objectives in a certain way helps me to understand how much effort they put into the content and whether or not they are just designed to stall you or hinder you with long travel to conceal a short quest chain. Just review things which we'll explore in the final review. Now that the landscape content is taken care of, I've gained 2 more levels, which takes me to 110. The Alliance panel is finally unlocked on the reputation screen, and in the next installment, we'll take a closer look at what they are. And on a final note regarding landscape quests, one of them led me to 2 high elves that were very familiar, and then it hit me. I met these 2 in the High Elf Starter Zone mission right here in Mordor a long time ago. That was exciting. It simply means that High Elf players will be getting a good amount of plot payoff, especially as these 2 talk about what happened in the past and what they're doing here now. That's pretty cool. That leaves me with the Black Book to finish. Picking up where I left off, I caught up with the Durthang SKP and finds out that he has vital information about Mordor, the Mouth of Sauron, and he has the Stolen Relic. I bring both our prisoner and the relic to Gandalf, who instructs me to find out more information about this relic. Now this is where things get pretty interesting. I was sent back to Minas Tirith to talk to an expert jeweler about the relic, and the quest chain even takes me further back in Rohan to see it through. There was a fun solo instance, and I end up back in Rivendell, where Elrond solves the relic's mystery. Now, to my understanding, these chapters involving the relic will be different based on class. I have friends who play different classes to mine that were sent elsewhere, other than Minas Tirith and Rohan, to learn more about their relics. I thought this was an interesting way to keep things fresh for players who might run the Black Book again on different alts. Shame it's just for a few chapters though. In an effort to keep things as spoiler-free as possible for you guys, I'll just say that now, the Black Book puts me in the shoes of the official messenger of Gondor. We learned that the Mouth of Sauron has enemies, specifically Ugrakor, the captain of the pit, who we learn about back in the first zone. Are we going to flame the fire and let the 2 kill each other? It's possible, but I'll find that out later I suppose, as I'm now given a choice to pursue 2 different options for the next few chapters. I must pick between questing and pursuing the Black Book in either Lingris or Talath Urui. I can do both, but that'll be hell to record and edit, so one at a time. More will be revealed in future installments of my Mordor playthrough. So if you liked the video, hit the like button, and if you have had a different experience than mine in Dor Amarth, share it in the comments section below. Once again, I'm Adrian, and I thank you for watching.
Oh, bloody hell, it's you again. Well, don't just stand there. If you want to subscribe to the channel, click the button in the middle. If you want to watch more videos, click the cards to the left or to the right. Now bugger off and go bother somebody else.